What grade are you in?
Right now I'm in 4th, but I'm soon going to be in 5th.
Good. I'm glad you know the future. That's perfect. Now, why are you excited to be here tonight?
Because I'm just excited.
Yeah. No other explanation. Now, I do believe, tell me the truth, is it true that your dad has a ringside seat but didn't get you guys ringside seats?
That is true, but it's because of his YouTube channel, okay? It's his YouTube, okay?
Her dad's an influencer. Let him go, guys. But your dad's awesome, right?
Yeah,
See, he's awesome. Yeah! Give it up for Claire. Thank you so much, Claire. High five. Yeah.
Can you believe that there are some people in this world that did not tune in to the Alliance Vlog podcast? Shame on you! Shame on you! My name is Ella Envy, and I'm one half of the NWA Women's World Tag Team Champion. And I'm Kinsey Page, the other half of the NWA World Women's Tag Team Champion. And you better go listen to the Alliance Vlog, what is it called again? Podcast, period. Or you're ugly. Pretty and power approved.
Mi gente, you already know who it is. It's the radioactive pop with Danny Limelight, the United Wrestling Network World Heavyweight Champion. And make sure you tune into the Alliance Vlog every week. You heard it here first. Straight from Poppy.
Hey guys, check this out. I am officially now sponsored by Dubby. Dubby is a clean energy drink made to give you focus with no crash. If you guys are like me, you're always needing a burst of energy, especially with one with no crash. Dubby contains vitamins, amino acids, a nootropic, and 150 milligrams of caffeine. It keeps me awake with no jitters, guys. Check it out. Merch link is in the bio. Dubby. What is up? Welcome to the Alliance Guys podcast, a presentation. Wait, Alliance Guys? Whoa. It's been a week. Welcome to the pre-party, a presentation of Alliance-Wrestling.com, your number one source of news and information for the National Wrestling Alliance. My name is Jay Cal, and of course, I've got my W with me because I need the energy. Because quite frankly, it's Tuesday and it feels like a Friday. Who's with me on that one? Anybody? Anybody? Oh, man, what happened back here? Our good old pal, Silas Mason, got knocked to the floor. What's going on back here? Anyways, like I said, this is a presentation of Alliance-Wrestling.com, your number one source for news and information for the National Wrestling Alliance. And I missed you guys. Had a great week alone. Not alone. That's with the family and the missus. You know what I'm saying? No, it was a good time. We were out in Palm Springs. We were staying at a resort. It was nice, hot. We were poolside. A couple of drinkies, a couple of Daddy's episodes, Daddy sodas. I saw something in the chat. Yeah, so it's pretty cool. I had a good time, but I did miss hanging out with you guys, of course. It's always fun to have you guys on the podcast. This just handed to me. We've got a new code. Literally, this just literally came across the Twitterverse into my inbox for Mr. Danny Deals. Today's code for the Father's Day week, get 20% off all NWA merchandise when you use the code Papa Deals. Now I'm gonna copy this. I'm gonna put it into the chat too, so that you guys can have it here. Sorry, that threw me off. Mike says, did I get any sodas? Daddy sodas? Of course I did. I love Daddy sodas. I had a nice little Mai Tai. And we're going to put that up on the screen right now. So again, to get your 20% off NWA merchandise, go to NWA. I think it's just, I use NWATix.com. That's how I get to the website. I don't know how you use it, but make sure you go and visit. Papa Deals is the code you need to get 20% off. Yeah, that's cool. Let's see. Willie Bowen's in the house. What is up to Willie? Our good friend Mike is here. And I made Mike drop his pasta. Jeremy wrestling with the MMA is here. Actually, it wasn't a Mai Tai, which is an alcoholic beverage. It was a, what is it? Strawberry daiquiri? No, it was a lava flow, which is like a pina colada mixed with the strawberry puree. It's very delicious. Thai stick. Put code, you'll need it as they charge you $9 for shipping in a little plastic bag. Sorry, Mike. That's unfortunate. So, like the title says, in my best Cody Rhodes impression, what do you guys want to talk about? We know this. We know that the NWA is showing some encore presentation of their Crockett Cup, meaning they're showing you content from the Crockett Cup. Tonight's matches, which are already set as we're going to have the I need to pull that text down. Let me do that real quick. Sorry for that. I'll put that up in a bit. Tonight's matches will include Scion versus the Masked Mystery Man. The Masked Mystery Man. That's what they called Scion when he came into the NWA. What are we doing here? Anyways, the Masked Mystery Man in an unsanctioned bout. If you didn't know, now you know. Also on tonight's card, and it was from night 2 of the Crockett Cup. Also from night 2 is Octagon Jr. and Mystices Jr. taking on the Brothers of Funstruction. The worst, best wrestling name I've ever heard. The Brothers of Funstruction. I love it. And then, and also on the card for tonight, we will have the replay of the semi or quarterfinals, as it says here, La Rebellion versus Blunt Force Trauma, with Vampiro, yes, that Vampiro, in the corner of Mecha Wolf and Bestia 666, and Aaron Stevens, obviously, in the corner of Carnage and Damage from Blunt Force Trauma. Those matches are good matches. They're great matches, but I've already seen those matches, and I don't understand the idea behind this. I just paid $45 or whatever it was to watch those matches live. And now the NWA is releasing that content for free. Now, that's not the worst thing in the world, right? Like, I don't think that's awful. I don't think that's horrible. But to my understanding, it's like, why did we pay for it? Now, this could be a different model for the NWA. In fact, I think this could be a smart business decision if going forward, they actually did this on a more regular basis. Instead of doing monthly TV tapings following a pay-per-view, why don't you just do a monthly pay-per-view and then air those matches on YouTube? And let's put a less emphasis on those matches, right? Let's not call it a pay-per-view. Let's call it, hey, this is, this week of TV tapings. And somebody like me who is more inclined to buy it so I can watch it all at once can do that, or I can just watch it for free on YouTube and not have it be a pay-per-view. Mandy asks a great question, and her question is, was the pay-per-view audience low? And the problem is those numbers are proprietary to the NWA Fight. And I think you only hear about the numbers being good when the NWA wants you to know that the numbers were good. And I think you only hear about the numbers being bad when somebody leaks it, right? I don't think anybody from the NWA is going to tell you, oh yeah, it sucked. We had a soft pay-per-view. Fight sure as hell isn't going to release that information. So we don't know. And I don't know, there's no way to really research that, right? But I've heard a lot of people say that, hey, they're done buying pay-per-views from the NWA, which I think is problematic for a brand that's trying to grow. I mean, when you look at what the NWA is trying to do, and we've talked about this a lot, but, just to overemphasize, right? We know that they're doing TV tapings in Chicago next month. The specific date, I didn't recall, but I think they announced it at the pay-per-view. I went online earlier today to look to see if those tickets were on sale yet. They are not. I know that Crockett Cup is supposed to be happening in August, but that date also has not been finalized or announced yet. So again, it's kind of up in the air. We all kind of assume it's going to be like that last weekend in August, but again, it hasn't been confirmed by anybody. Oh, Polka Dot Pam, the great Polka Dot Pam, by the way. She did say the TV tapings are July 9th. So they're not too far away, about a month away. I'm concerned about what the NWA is going to do leading up to those TV tapings, because we know the turnaround time is quick for the NWA. We know that Billy and the other Billy and the Billy Trask directing the show, he's been able to have a pretty quick turnaround in terms of getting the tapes from production to airing the following Tuesday. I mean, they in previous years they have recorded content at the pay-per-view and after the pay-per-views for that Monday following, and having live match, or not live matches, but a live, not live, a new power, presented on the following Tuesday, which is, I mean, that just shows you how dedicated that Billy Trask is, how hardworking he is, what a good job he's able to do with have that turnaround in such a short amount of time. Like, this isn't the WWE. We have to be honest with ourselves. They don't have that ability that the WWE has or AEW has. But I would say it's pretty impressive for an indie-sized company to turn around that quickly with the production. So with that being said, like, them filming on Saturday, Sunday for a pay-per-view, doing matches on a Monday for the next couple of weeks of television, Billy Trask being able to translate that very quickly for an episode for Tuesday that airs at 5 p.m. or 6 p.m. Eastern, that's all pretty cool. So for July 9th, when they do those tapings, and I'm assuming that July 9th is going to be like a weekend, but let me look at my calendar here real quick. July 9th is a Saturday. Oh no, July 9th is a Sunday, excuse me. So they'll probably do the tapings on that Sunday, and that'll probably build up towards Crockett Cup Crockett Cup, the 75th anniversary show. So I mean, I feel like they're going to build up to it, but what are we going to do in the meantime? I feel like if they're just going to continue to air matches from Crockett Cup, you're setting up a weird a precedent that I don't know that, I paid for Crockett Cup. I don't know if I'm happy that they're releasing those matches for free, because and then Polka Dot Pam says that July 8th, which is a Saturday, is a charity show in Chicago. That's awesome. I love the fact that Billy's doing charity work and using the NWA brand to bring more charity type events. I think that's a great way to build not only some loyal fans, but also some, what's the word I'm looking for? Credibility? Not credibility. Goodwill. It creates goodwill. If you're putting on a show for charity, whether that show sells 10,000 tickets or 100 tickets, the fact that you're putting on an event for charity, I think speaks well of the organization and also paints it in a very positive light for the people of Chicago or whatever charity that it's impacting. I think it's going to be beneficial. But I guess what I'm trying to say is, with the TV tapings happening in Chicago on the 9th, and maybe they'll tape some of the charity show for TV as well. What's the end result? Like, what's the content situation going to be for YouTube leading up to July 9th and onward? Now they could, July 9th might be, they'll do a full day of tapings. Maybe they'll do 2 days like they did in Chicago last time. But just like James H. Jackson said, we paid $45 for the pay-per-view. Seems like the message is just wait, we'll watch the matches for free. And save money. And again, maybe that's the right thing for the NWA to do. Maybe that's a better solution for them long term. Maybe, and James, I'm sure James can remind me, but isn't that what New Japan Strong does right now? Don't they film a block of shows for Fight, and then they release the matches later on YouTube? I could be mistaken. Polka Dot Pam says maybe some Australian footage between now and July. See, now that would be awesome, but the problem with the Australian footage is it's very heavily centered on just 6 people. Six or I guess maybe we could say 8, right? Because you've got the Southern Six, which is technically 4, but when they went to Australia, with a limited roster. And I don't think you're going to showcase, you're not going to make those shows in Australia about the Australian talent. Obviously, it's going to be about the NWA talent. So you have Natalia Markova, who wrestled at those tapings, or not tapings, at those concerts, but she also performed live on stage with Billy. Of course, so did Mercurio, who has that role in part of the Billy's concert and also working some of the matches. And then we also had some interesting developments in Australia. I mean, the proliferation, is that the right word? Maybe not. I should stop using words I don't know the definition to. The creation, the genesis, if you will, the Southern Six. You had Alex Taylor. You had Silas Mason. You had Kerry Morton. And you had Kenzie Page. They all came home with tattoos of 6s on their bodies. Not because of any other reason, but to quantify, to show the unity that these 4 talents, who have 2 mystery talents, I guess, to be added, to form this Southern Six. And I think this is a great way to introduce this group if that's the plan going forward. And if that is the plan, then I'm very, very excited for them to do this, because I think the Southern Six, no, not prophylactic. And the Polka Dot Pam says agreed. No stories in Australia, but I mean it could be, but it would only be really the genesis of this group, right? It would be Alex Taylor, it would be Kerry Morton, his junior heavyweight title defenses. It would be Kenzie Page defending her the women's television championship, but she didn't even have the physical belt. And I don't even know that those title matches will be recognized on Power, which is where she has that Lucky 7 series where she has 7 victories on Power or USA, and that will give her an opportunity to challenge for the Burke. So with that being said, I don't mind if we got a deep dive on the Southern Six, but then I feel like that kind of, number one, unless that's what we're getting going forward with the NWA, I feel like that's kind of pointless. And then also, I mean, there are matches from Bestia 666 and Mecha Wolf, La Rebellion, your NWA World Tag Team Champions. And as much as I love Mecha Wolf and Bestia 666, again, what stories are you telling here? We just got off a Crockett Cup. What we have from Crockett Cup is that they lost to Blunt Force Trauma in the semifinals, right? Before or quarterfinals, actually. So we didn't get the run with La Rebellion we were hoping, but to showcase their tag matches in Australia, that'd be cool. But again, it's not telling a story that's conducive to the entire NWA. It's just on those participants that were there in Australia, which again, not the end of the world, but I feel like that's problematic. And what going back to what James H. Jackson said, I feel like if they decided to start filming monthly, a monthly pay-per-view where they could say, hey, look, you can buy this for $10 on Fight. We'll show you everything right here live, or you could wait and watch it on Tuesdays, every Tuesday over the next 4 or 5 weeks. And, there's going to be people who are going to buy it. I'm going to buy it because I'm stupid, because I say that facetiously. I'm not stupid. I enjoy the NWA content, and I can watch it whenever I want, and I can have that all watched and know where the NWA, what directions are going, and we could do this podcast where I could be like, yeah, something cool is going to happen. You're going to have to watch. Shh. But I don't see where, I don't know. I feel like they need to do something different. Now is the time to pivot, and especially because considering – they painted themselves into the corner with all this Australian taping, that Australian tour, which I'm sure was very successful for both the Smashing Pumpkins and the NWA. Don't get me wrong. I think that was a great business decision. I think that was brilliant. But it also paints them into a corner that they didn't get enough content filmed at 312. They didn't get enough content filmed after Crockett Cup. And now they're releasing these pay-per-views, this $45 pay-per-view, for free. And I don't know how I feel about that, especially when there's a huge vault now of NWA wrestling matches. I mean, they've been filming consistently since back for the attack in 2022. And we know that they took a knee in that was 2021. We know that they took a knee in 2020. They had a couple of weeks of television programming filmed back in 2019, leading up to 2020 for, we know that they've been taping wrestling. We know that there have been a couple of pay-per-views, the pop-up event that they did in 2019, the Crockett Cup in 2019, the 70th anniversary show in 2018. They did all this stuff that could have built up. That they've got content. They've got content. And it's like that's older content that people didn't just pay for. Like, look, Laredo Kid versus Barrett Brown was filmed at the 70th anniversary show. Who has a match against Kerry Morton this Saturday? Barrett Brown. You could have had that match go this week on YouTube, and they could have talked about this matchup between Kerry Morton and Barrett Brown and had some back and forth. I mean, look at this. Look, I'm going to play this video clip for you real quick. Here, like this.
Over the last 13 years, I have accomplished a lot of things in my career. I've done some things I never thought that I'd be able to do. I've also been fed a lot of false promises. 6 years ago, I fulfilled a lifelong dream. 6 years ago, I captured my holy grail. And 6 years ago, it was taken away from me. I did not lose it. 6 years ago, it was taken out of my hands. And over the last 6 years, I've done what I thought was the right thing. I have tried so hard to be the nice guy, but I can't get a text back. I can't get an email. I can't get a return phone call. I can get anyone to answer the damn phone. So now I got to kick a door down. I got to go public because no one's going to acknowledge me otherwise, will they? Sometimes you got to go into business for yourself, don't you? There is a looming cloud that has been over my head for the last 6 years. And there's closure that needs to be had, isn't there? So I want you to listen to me very closely. Kerry Morton. Kerry Morton. I'm issuing a challenge straight to you. Put your NWA World Junior Heavyweight Championship on the line against me, whether I got to come to you or you come to Texas and you come find me, because I'm not hard to find. But how about you put that title on the line against the stray dog, 50 caliber Barrett Brown, the man that never lost the championship? What say you, Kerry? Give me my closure.
Right? So, like, look, you could have literally opened up Power with that. And then you could have had some antics of Kerry Morton, some of his matches that we've seen recently. You could have showed the match between Barrett Brown and Laredo Kid from the 70th anniversary show. And then you could have had Kerry pop on your...
Barrett Brown, buddy, I love your little sob story. I listened to it time and time again. I never lost my championship. Shut up. Show up. And deliver, buddy. I'm looking forward to seeing you, Barrett Brown. It's going to be a first time for me meeting the Barrett Brown out of Texas, wherever that may be. Grew up in the business, up and down the road. Make it something for yourself. That's great, Barrett Brown. But remember this. I'm not just the average guy. I am the epitome of professional wrestling. They don't make them like this no more. So VIP Wrestling International Player Club is showing up and showing out as we always do. Lance Romance, Kerry Morton, the future legend, the NWA World Junior Heavyweight Champion already sells itself. So Barrett, I cannot wait to show up and see all your lovely fans and your family out in the aisles as they watch the champ march through the ring and deliver.
Right? Like, we could have had an entire episode of Power, baby. I don't know. Am I simplifying it? Yes. Am I making it too easy? Yes. Should this be done? Also, yes. Tell me I'm wrong, somebody. Media says, Jay, not a bad idea. NWA can lower their price unless it's a two-nighter to $15 to $20. Then yes, some lower profile matches on YouTube. Also, they can, long as Billy still has the original NWA library Tharp had. Actually, no. He doesn't have the library that Tharp had. Like, that's the problem. That library that Tharp had, Tharp never really had. And I don't want to say anything out of context because I'll be honest, I don't have that information. But as far as I know, that library still belonged to the widow of Paul Bosch, and I think it was being licensed through the NWA. A couple of times he tried to sell it, but I don't know who he was trying to sell it to. The discussion was the WWE. They didn't want it. Now, there's loads of great content in there, and I don't know if it would make sense for Billy to go out and try to procure it from the Paul Bosch family, but they never were able to get anywhere with that. And what Tharp was doing to the content, I don't even know if it's worth. I don't know exactly what happened, right? I do know that they recorded some of the content. They tried to digitize it and create a higher digital quality to it. They were supposed to do voiceovers for it. Now, look, if it were Jay Cal, and Billy Corgan's got money, and I don't know how much money he wants to spend, especially on what's more or less a vanity project for Paul Bosch. You see the Paul Bosch footage, you know what the hell it is. I'm not trying to be rude, but like, it's Paul Bosch's library. You have no connection to the Houston wrestling scene. A lot of those matches weren't even filmed under the NWA banner, but there was some great content for the NWA. I mean, Dusty Rhodes, Andre the Giant, Harley Race, and a bevy of other names. Ric Flair. We could keep going on and on with this. It would be smart if you're Billy Corgan to buy some of that up, and maybe that would be a show that you could air regularly, where you would mix the content from Paul Bosch to the modern day NWA to bring that tie together. I don't know, man. I don't know what the right answer is. I don't. But I just feel like this was a missed opportunity. At least, they last Tuesday, after the pay-per-view, they gave you some more highlights, some commentary from Billy Corgan. But I don't feel like that's, like, again, if I spend $45 for a pay-per-view, I don't want to see the content that I just paid for being available for free. I don't think that's fair. And if I'm a consumer, that's going to make me not want to continue to pay for the product if I know it's going to be available for free. But if you look at the vault of film of matches that Billy has accumulated since taking ownership of the NWA in 2017, that's 5 years of content. Now, I'm not saying that everything out there is worthy of being on television, but there's matches with Nick Aldis defending that title, the matches that they filmed in Hollywood, the matches that they filmed in Nashville, the matches that they have filmed really a lot of places. And it's not just NWA content or like a power content I'm talking about. I'm talking about all the pay-per-views they filmed. Again, as far as I know, the rights to the 70th anniversary show, I still think Billy owns, so he could have used that. He could have used footage from the pop-up events. They could have used footage from Crockett Cup 2019. They could have used footage from any of the episodes of Power from the last 2 years. They could have used footage from Hard Times. There's so much stuff they could have done, but they didn't. Now, Pam brings up a good point, and that's the thing. What I love so much about Pam is she's a passionate fan. She, I know she's a diehard Smashing Pumpkins fan. She's in a short amount of time has become a diehard NWA fan, and that's awesome. She brings up the counterpoint. I think it depends on how many matches they end up showing for free. I'm not bothered by a few being shown. And yeah, same way, if it's just one or two matches, I guess I wouldn't have that big of a problem. But I feel like it's been a lot more than one or two matches. This is the second week in a row, I believe, that they're showing matches from Power. Or excuse me, matches from the Crockett Cup. And again, if you pay for it, then it's like, gosh, why did I pay for it? I just watch it for free on Power. Obviously, I don't think they should do the whole. I don't think they're planning on releasing the whole Crockett Cup on YouTube. But I just feel like there was a better way to do this. And James H. Jackson brings up a good point. Do this It's how the Lightning era started. Show some 10 pounds of gold stuff. That would have been great too. You know, like, look, I don't fault the NWA, right? Because again, it's not a big corporation. This isn't a conglomerate. This isn't like hundreds of like a huge think tank that's coming up with this stuff. But look, in Dallas, VIP Wrestling has no connection to the NWA. I'm almost certain that Barrett Brown or VIP Wrestling reached out to Kerry Morton and said, "Hey, Kerry, what's going on? Are you interested in defending the 10-pound or the World Junior Heavyweight Championship down here in Texas?" And I'm sure Kerry said, "Sure, let me check with my boss." And Billy said, "Yeah, it's fine." Or maybe Pat Kenny said, "Yeah, it's fine." And it probably has no real big impact on what the NWA is doing going forward. Like that's the truth, or at least seemingly that could be very true. But I also think on the flip side, like, this is a missed opportunity when a lot of people are considering this kind of a big time match. Anybody who's followed the NWA for some time can feel this magnitude, because Barrett Brown never lost the belt. And we're going to talk. Hey, look, we're going to talk to Barrett Brown. We're going to talk to Barrett Brown on Thursday. We'll be talking to Barrett Brown, and we're gonna lay it all out there, talk about things that were said, the promises that were made that weren't delivered, talk about the opportunities that he missed out on. We're gonna talk about New Japan Strong and focus a lot of his energy where a lot of his energy has been the last few years in the Texas independent wrestling scene. New Japan Strong as part of the Stray Dogs, but yeah, I just feel like they could have done some stuff. Let's see. Sam says they could have started building the 75th with the 10 pounds of gold show. Sam, the problem with that, though, is, respectfully, Tim Storm was one of the nicest, sweetest, like, aw shucks kind of guy there is, right? Anybody who meets Tim Storm will tell you what a sweetheart that guy is. He's been on this podcast. I've got to talk to him many times. I love Tim Storm. He's a great dude. Probably one of the best dudes in the business. You know his story? He started off, he got into wrestling late in life. He's a school teacher. I mean, hell, he wrestled Dan Severn for the 10 pounds of gold a millennium ago. He's been around for a long time, and he's extremely likable. And when you put him on YouTube, with the 10 pounds of gold, people instantly had a connection with him because he is a good dude. He's a family man, all this good stuff, man. And then when you got Nick Aldis, maybe not as likable, but certainly you have to respect the accolades of a man who, won the Impact title, won the TNA title too, right? Like, he won the TNA title and the Global Force title, which became the Impact Championship. I mean, you got to respect that. And then his story going through all of this, being built up to become the next World's Heavyweight Champion. They didn't just bring in Nick Aldis in October when Billy Corgan cell was finalized. They didn't just bring Nick Aldis in and put the belt on him. They built up to that for about 2.5 months with those 10 pounds of gold videos. And they did a tremendous job of making you love Tim Storm and kind of making you respect Nick Aldis, but not like Nick Aldis. And then he wins at 10 pounds of gold. And this is before Power. They start building up Nick Aldis with those 10 pounds of gold videos, where you're like, damn, I don't necessarily like it, but I got to respect the hustle that this guy has. I got to respect the hard work that this guy has. And so if they were to bring back that 10 pounds of gold series, can you tell me in what world would we look at Tyrus and be like, yeah, I respect that guy? I mean, honestly, if it was on Fox News, sure, they could find a way to make Tyrus extremely likable. I don't like Tyrus. Do you like Tyrus? I don't find him to be a likable guy. Do I think he cuts an amazing promo? Yes. 100%. Can't argue with that. But I don't want to watch him training for his match with who? They don't even have an opponent for him yet. Is it going to be Chris Adonis? Is it going to be EC3? Is it going to be Tom Latimer. Is it going to be a mystery opponent? We don't know. We probably won't know which direction they're going until July at the tapings in Chicago. So with all that being said, it's just kind of we get to a point where like, what are we going to do? I knew Polka Dot Pam was. I knew that was going to trigger this. Fingers crossed for an Adonis rematch. I don't blame you. I think I'm. You know what, Pam? You're kind of winning me over. We talked about this on Twitter. Chris Adonis tours internationally without the 10 pounds of gold, right? So, like, one of the cool things that when Nick Aldis won the title, and this is all smoke and mirrors, guys, I'm going to give you a little bit behind the scenes here. Okay, shh, don't tell anybody, but he was already booked to wrestle in the United Kingdom when he won the 10 pounds of gold. That was already a done deal. Now, did that have some bearing on his opportunities in the UK that he was going to become world champion? Probably not. The British don't care as much about the 10 pounds of gold as you think they do. Dang it, kayfabe. I'll get to that in a minute. But Aldis's title, Aldis being world champion wasn't going to change those UK bookings. But it made it look like it was a big deal because he had the 10 pounds of gold. Now, Chris Adonis is a guy who wrestles in Canada, wrestles in Puerto Rico, wrestles in the Middle East, wrestles in Australia on a regular basis. They should have put the title on Adonis at 312. He could have taken the belt to Australia, a place where he's already kind of known and recognized, and he could have had this like triumphant return to Australia with the 10 pounds of gold, a place that hasn't seen the title since Nick Aldis won it back in 2017 before he lost it to Cody Rhodes, right? They could have done all that. 2018, excuse me. They could have had Adonis out there with the title and all those cool pictures that we saw. We could have seen that with Adonis. You know, the Southern Six could have been the thorn in Adonis' side. Hell, they could have built to a Silas Mason versus Chris Adonis feud. Just me throwing stuff out there. Steve G says NWA needs a new heavyweight champion. Ever since Tyrus has been the champion, they've been sliding. Chris says, it's time, Billy. Spend money. Money on the NWA. Dave Scooby says, have Tim Storm show up in Barrett Brown's corner, former tag partners from 2013. That'd be amazing. I'd love that. I'd love that a lot. I would love this to be the introduction to Barrett Brown and the NWA. But then the hard part is, right, now you've got Colby Carino back. You've got Joe Alonzo. You've got, who else in the junior heavyweight division? I guess Homicide has kind of taken a back seat for a while. But, you know, Joe Alonzo has been pretty good in the NWA. Yeah, so, okay. Why not? Why not? Although right now I think I find Kerry Morton the most interesting I found him since he's been in the NWA. So we'll see. Now, Kayfabe likes to make me eat my words. He says, Jay ain't wrong, but if you start listening to Tyrus 3 Wiseman podcast or his books and get the guy in long form, he starts to change your mind. The problem with what Kayfabe wrote there is there's a lot of truth to that. You have to be open-minded, though, to like Tyrus, and I think a lot of us aren't. And to what Steve says, it's Tyrus isn't believable as a champion. He can barely move in the ring, and that's true, man. Like, God, watching him at the Crockett Cup, he was a little bit more mobile, but he was only working part-time, right? Each one of those matches, he only had to do a little bit. Adonis was the workhorse in those. The Midnight Riders. Mike says the NWA will slide with Tyrus as champ. Depends on which part of the floor he stands. Oh, damn. I read that not realizing it was a joke. That's a good one, Mike. I like that. Dave Scooby says setting up the junior heavyweight feuds for next year with Colby and Alonzo. They both seemingly are under the management of Jamie Stanley, no? So that's kind of awkward and weird. But you know, it should, that makes 3 heels in the junior heavyweight division. So if you did bring in Barrett Brown, and I'm not saying they're going to, but if they did slide Barrett Brown in there, former world champion in his own right, somebody who's got some flex. He works New Japan Strong. You know who else works New Japan Strong that's in the NWA? Kratos. and Kratos has actually gotten so much better just being in New Japan Strong. I really feel like the same thing when you go and see Barrett Brown now versus where he was, you're going to be so impressed by this guy. Let's see. More comments. Imagine the work rate of Barrett Brown, Colby Carino, Flip, Alex Taylor, and Alonzo. Oh, yeah, Alex Taylor. He's back from injury, and I forgot Flip Gordon's kind of sticking around. And maybe Fodder jumps in there too, maybe. I don't know. But that would be a hell of a work rate division. That would be a very fun junior heavyweight division. A very interesting and athletic dynamic, very radically different from what you'd see at the heavyweight division. And I mean, you could kind of put Rhett Titus in there as well, I guess. They're not doing a whole lot with him right now anyway. James H. Jackson says, I watched a recent interview with Adonis, and they were naming all the places he travels to. Yeah, I mean, his stuff in the Middle East, like, he's wrestling for some – think of it this way, right? He does a lot of those USO wrestling shows. And for those of you that don't remember, the USO is like they bring these events to the soldiers who are in other countries. And they have these huge, like, sometimes they're concerts. Sometimes they're like, wrestling has become a thing that they do a lot. My boy Johnny LaQuasto goes there and does these shows with them. And Adonis is usually one of the guys on these events. And as Polka Dot Pam says right now, Adonis's shows in Pakistan were huge. Yeah, these are big shows, whether it be in front of the soldiers or actual just wrestling companies in these other countries. Like, having the opportunity to bring the 10 pounds of gold to Pakistan, you're like, look, I know it's not China, but like wrestling isn't a big thing in China either. And the 10 pounds of gold, as far as I know, has never been to Pakistan, right? So he'd be checking off lists that Tyrus can't even check. There's only one person in the NWA who's going to be able to take the title to Pakistan currently. It's Adonis. And maybe that's not a huge cap in the feather of anyone, but to me, I think that's a big deal because we glorified Nick Aldis for doing that, right? We glorified Nick Aldis for taking the 10 pounds of gold to China. But at the end of the day, I mean, that was Dave Marquez. That was a Dave Marquez United Wrestling Network show. That wasn't even an NWA show. Kayfabe says, with the NWA having actual heavyweights on top, it allows the work rate of junior heavyweights to shine within the same card, unlike other brands where everyone is 205 pounds and across the card. Yeah. I mean, there's truth to that, 100%. Steve says, Camille is carrying the NWA right now, and we're running out of people for Camille to beat, right? It's getting hard to figure out a good challenge for Camille. By the way, Saraya Knight is coming to the United States, and I think her and I think I might have it here. I think Saraya and Camille are supposed to be wrestling very, very soon for an independent. Let's see if I can pull it up if I have it. I think this is it. July 28th. And what city is that in? I don't see it. I can't tell from the graphic. But, hey, that would be an interesting matchup for the Women's World title that they could do. I'd be about that. It says, the Great Hisa, by the way. I want you guys to know, and I'm going to put some respect on the Great Hisa's name. If there wasn't a Great Hisa, there might not be a podcast right now. There might not be an NWA podcast, a weekly podcast, because there might not have been an Alliance Guys podcast or an Alliance Wrestling website without the Great Hisa. All the work that he's done dedicating to recording the history of not just the NWA, but professional wrestling championships all across the world. But specifically, his NWA work made it for me wanting to kind of do my part to help keep that legacy alive. But what his comments were, since Tyrus mocked the middle-aged fantasy bookers, can you start the NWA's fantasy league? That might be something to think about. Huh. Dave Scooby would be the world champion, though. But Hisa, I'm sure you could get in there and win the TV title, no problem. Polka Dot Pam says, the fact is we want a traveling champion. That champion is Chris Adonis. I agree. Sold. I when Adonis came to the NWA, I wasn't super high on him. Strictly Business, I felt like it was kind of mundane. But the more he's been in the NWA, the better he's gotten. His appearance, he looks better. His body looks better. His in-ring work looks better. His promos are certainly better. I feel like I'm with Pam on this one. I think he could be the next world champion. And the only other people I see, my list is 4 guys. I think Adonis is on the top of my list. I think EC3 is right behind him. EC3 might have the edge if he wasn't national champion already. And then Tom Latimer would be a guy that I'd have no problem putting the belt on. And then Silas Mason, who he's not a young man by any stretch, but he's still early in the game, and there's lots of time for Silas Mason. But those are my 4 guys right now. Adonis, EC3, Tom Latimer, Silas Mason. And what's sad is that there's no Pope on that list, because where is the Pope? Dak Draper was a guy who 6 months ago I thought could have been somebody. A year ago, I thought that the Golden Boy, right? Jordan Clearwater could have been one of those guys. The fact that Mims had such a prolific feud with Tyrus leading up to his TV championship run and through that championship run, and the fact that he's never got another opportunity to face Tyrus, I think it's kind of damning, isn't it? Like, I would have loved to see, what would have been cool? And I'm going to do a little fantasy booking here just for a minute. What would have been cool is if, instead of choosing Adonis, if Tyrus would have chose Mims to be his partner. Be like, Mims, look, man, I respect you, Mims. You're going to come work with me. We're going to build this new group, and you're my cornerstone, Mims. You're going to be my guy. And we could have seen Mims get built up to be like the mentor to Tyrus after being his nemesis, and then being mentored, and then churning on Tyrus at some point. I don't know. Steve G says Dave Marquez is the true genius in wrestling. And see, Dave Marquez would even tell you he's not a genius. Like, he's not a genius wrestling promoter. He knows what he's doing, though. His emphasis is on television. Creating that television dynamic, that television market. He's been able to create multiple wrestling promotions. I mean, he had his run in Hollywood with Championship Wrestling from Hollywood, literally, we still consider it going today, and it's almost been, let's see. I was at the first show with my then 5-year-old daughter, who turns 19 in August. So we're talking, 14 years in Los Angeles. I know that the company that they were on, that TV station, sold. I know they're on YouTube, and I know they're in other markets on television, but they're not in the Los Angeles market. I think they're working on changing that very soon. But Championship Wrestling has been around for a very long time. They had a pretty decent run in Arizona. They had about 2 or 3 years of regular television. Then that ceased to exist. They started doing TV in Atlanta, and I felt like that had a lot of potential. That also didn't last very long. But Memphis Wrestling, which Dave is a partner in, not the controlling interest, but a partner in, has and still has a very solid running. They air in Memphis and on YouTube. That promotion is seemingly growing. Derby City is where a lot of his energy and emphasis is at now, and it's doing pretty good. And I'm expecting a lot of great things for the United Wrestling Network in 2023 and beyond. I kind of want to go out to Derby City to see one of those shows, And as Steve G pointed out, the Pope is back, United Wrestling Network. I mean, that's not the NWA, but the Pope. I'm a big Pope guy. I love the Pope. Let's see. Kayfabe Super says Paige's mom, which is the Saraya, not Paige Saraya, but Saraya Knight, which is Paige's mom, versus Camille and Paige's son versus Tom. It's Chicago, Tinley Park. So oddly enough, it is Chicago. Wow, they should do it. They should do it a month earlier too. Samantha Starr is on the same card versus Stacey Shadows. Samantha Starr, she's actually gotten a lot better for me too, watching her growth in the NWA. But that's a conversation for another time. Mike says that with Mims, I would have liked. I just think Mims to me right now, I don't know what you do with Mims. I think he's such a great talent and there's so much potential, but it seems like every push that he gets, they end up squandering it. I just don't know if I could be excited by what Mims is doing at this point. K-Fib says, Derby is good stuff, loving Lord Crew. Lord Crew is a beast, man. I saw him in Atlanta the first time, and I thought, holy crap. I was surprised he didn't show up in the NWA. He's got a perfect look that he would fit right. You know what he'd fit right in with? The Savages. He would be perfect for the Savages. Steve G says, the pandemic killed Georgia and Arizona wrestling, unfortunately. The pandemic killed wrestling for everyone that wasn't a major national corporation. The WWE kept going. AEW kept going. Impact even kept going. Even Championship Wrestling from Hollywood. I mean, they were still filming live matches, right? They were still filming matches in the Ocean View Pavilion in Port Hueneme, California, the same place where New Japan Strong started filming a lot of their content. And then they did the Primetime Live series in Long Beach. I was there in the middle of the pandemic with a mask on. We did a pre-party from there. I mean, it killed wrestling everywhere except for the companies that were able to make it work. And there was extreme testing. Like you had to show up I had to show up, not even a talent, just somebody in the audience. I had to show up with a COVID negative test that I took 2 days before. They swabbed my nose while I was there. They took my temperature, all that good stuff. You got to wash your hands, all that stuff. And yeah, I mean, we made it, but yeah. Sorry, the comments got me distracted. Kayfabe Soup says, I was thinking Crew and Judeus and be less sinister minister and more biker. I'm in, bro. I love it. Wrestling says the battery warning. Yeah, Jeremy, it's fine. The show, I mean, look, we got 9 more minutes. If it dies, it dies. Wait, you know what? We could do this. We could say, let me see. Don't forget, guys, that this Thursday, I'll be interviewing Barrett Brown. Barrett Brown will have a lot to say about his time with the NWA and also about his opportunities that are coming for himself at VIP Wrestling. I almost did it. Almost had it. Battery change. Now I'm just making myself laugh. See, batteries, that's all good. Magic. But yeah, so again, this has been a very unscripted show just because we don't have a whole lot to talk about tonight on this week's Power because it's just basically a replay of the Crockett Cup. I think if Billy's listening or anyone in the office, Danny, are you here, man? Danny, are you listening? By the way, Danny Deals sent me this earlier in the show. If you would like to get some NWA merchandise on the cheap for Father's Day, if your pops is an NWA fan, like my kids have a pops who is an NWA fan, you get a deal, 20% off. Papa Deals, Papa Fresh. You can get a good deal on some merch this week. But yeah, this is kind of an unscripted show, a little bit less structure because I don't have a power that I need to talk about. I mean, these matches, if you order the Crockett Cup, you saw them. If not, you'll see them for the first time. I'll tell you, man, the Clowns of Dysfunction, the Masters of Dysfunction, whatever it's called, not a bad tag team. And I'm not a huge clown guy. I'm not like Jeremy, and I'm not freaked out by him, but I could give or take those guys. Seeing Mysticez Jr. and Octagon Jr., that was a lot of fun for me. I got to see Octagon Jr. in Mexico as part of the triple threat match. Octagon Jr. wrestled in the tag team match, teaming with Commander against Homicide and Scion. It was a lot of fun. It's going to be a fun match. You go watch it if you haven't seen it for the first time. Let's see. James H. Jackson has a good point. TV and ad revenue for local over-the-antenna TV is Marquez's specialty. Get Quick Quack Quick Quack. Let me try that again. Quick Quack Car Shield on board, and you're good to go. And the thing is, for a minute there, the NWA had Bush, right? Like we saw that the 73rd anniversary show, they had Bush as the sponsor. What's preventing them from locking down somebody like Bush on a regular basis? And in all honesty, what I think the NWA should do is we're going to go back full circle here, and Jay's going to fantasy book for a minute. Not fantasy book, but kind of fantasy promote, fantasy run the show. I would do local TV in St. Louis on the regular. Doty brings up a good point. Dave is genius, but Jay will tell you he needed a very long and tumultuous trial and error to be able to reach what he became today. Look, guys, if we go back to Dave Marquez, I mean, I love Dave. I consider Dave a friend. I can call Dave right now. I can talk to him on the phone. Dave is a guy who's worked very hard to get where he is right now. It didn't happen by accident. They had a lot of good matches, a lot of good wrestlers, a lot of great talent who have come and gone, and they still never reached the level that they're at right now. And that was through, like Doty said, a lot of trial and error. We had the NWA on Showcase, the NWA Showcase on Colors, the NWA Pro Wrestling Showcase. It took several stop-go attempts to get to where they're at now, but they've been very successful for the last few years. But if I was doing the NWA, if Billy contacted me and said, Jay, tell me what I should do. Tell me what I'm doing wrong here. Well, the first thing I would tell him is we need to tape more regularly. And I think that they should be taping shows weekly. Now they have almost everything they need in Tennessee, right? They've got the studio. Most of the talent is based in Tennessee. Maybe not most of it, but a good chunk of it is. Silas Mason, AJ Kazana, right? Alex Taylor, Mims, Jeremiah Plunkett, Kerry Morton, Ricky Morton. I mean, that's 7 talents already just in that Tennessee, in Tennessee. And I'm sure there's more. I mean, the Heat Seekers are local, would be Tennessee. And AJ Kazana Promotions is right there. Why not do every other weekend? Why not work with Kazana Promotions and record NWA matches right there every week? Every time they do a TV taping, every time they do a live event at AJ Kazana Promotions, why not do some NWA content? That could be your USA show, and it can be taped every week or every 2 weeks, whenever Kazana runs. Once a month even. It's still more frequently than what the NWA is doing. I don't know. Am I crazy? You guys tell me. Am I crazy? Dave Scooby brings up another good point. I was able to work with Dave and Harley in Springfield, Missouri doing the WLW events. And that was, now Dave Scooby's dating himself a little bit, but that was back in the late 90s. 98, 99. And really, like, even before then, I think they started doing those shows like in 96. So, look, I'm excited for the NWA, and you guys might be hearing me talk about this, and I'm saying like all these things where it sounds negative, but I think that the NWA is so close to being there that it sucks because we're so close, and a pivot here and a pivot there, doing things just a little bit differently, thinking a little bit more outside of the box could get them going to where I want them to be, maybe where you want them to be, hopefully where Billy wants it to be, which to me is just successful. But nevertheless, tonight's episode of Power, it's going to be more of the same from last week. I mean, if you look at the description, and I'll pull it up here, tell you guys exactly what it is, because I don't remember off the top of my head. But I showed you the matches that are scheduled to be here. Get ready for an adrenaline-pumping experience as we bring you an exclusive encore presentation of 3 electrifying matches from the recently concluded 2023 edition of the Crockett Cup Tag Team Tournament. Witness the high-flying action as the Clown Brother tag team of Yabo and Ruffo, also known as the Brothers of Funstruction, go head-to-head against the incredible AAA Lucha Libre standouts Mysticis Jr. and Octagon Jr. They didn't even mention, like, is Billy Corgan going to do some commentary, or is he going to be doing any conversation? I don't know. But I guess that's a good place to wrap it up. Again, I hope you guys have a great week of wrestling. Enjoy tonight's Power. Make sure you check in tomorrow at almost this time tomorrow to check out Jeremy, Dave, and Tim as they talk about the rest of Crockett Cup 2023. There was no USA, so I think they're going to cover all of the Crockett Cup and basically give some more feedback on that show. Of course, Championship Wrestling from Hollywood and Derby City Wrestling and Memphis Wrestling is also covered on that program with Jeremy. And our own Dave Scooby does some fantasy booking. You don't want to miss that. He's got some interesting topics that they're going to go over tomorrow. I'm going to be checking that out because I love when Dave Scooby does that fantasy booking. A lot of his stuff makes more sense than even the stuff I talk about. Then also on Thursday, I'll show it again. We're gonna have a real good episode. He's not going to be there from the start, but we're going to be joined by Barrett Brown. He is the former NWA World Junior Heavyweight Champion, a man who never lost that title belt. He's angry. He's angry. He's pissed because the title he never lost is now around the waist of Kerry Morton. Well, not that title, but a title that meant the same thing. And he never got invited to the show. He never got invited to the tournament. He never was given an opportunity to wrestle for that belt. Yes, they brought him into the 70th anniversary show where he defeated Laredo Kid. He did everything they asked him to. They abandoned him. They left him for dead. The stray dog. Now he's got his shot June 23rd. We're going to talk to him tomorrow, Thursday night. Make sure you join us to do that. And Mike says, joined in. No, he will be here live. He'll be here to join us live. Dodie brings up the same point. Hey, Cahagas never lost the national title. Can we get EC3 versus Cahagas? I mean, if someone could pay Cahagas to show up, I guess. It's not an NWA show. That's the disappointing part. But maybe it will be, right? Maybe Barrett Brown will, if we manifest it, right? That's the buzzword. If we talk about how cool this matchup would be, maybe we'll get it on Power. Maybe we'll get it at the next pay-per-view. Guys, again, I want to thank you so much for being a part of the show each and every Tuesday. I missed you guys last week. I'm glad to be here. Thanks again for Tim for filling in last week. And sorry we lost you guys on the Alliance Guys podcast last week, but we'll make it up to you this week. In the meantime, you guys have been so much fun. Thank you for being a part of the chat. It really makes my Tuesday great. I'll see you guys at the matches. Thanks for checking out the pre-party, a presentation of Alliance-Wrestling.com. You should hit that subscribe button and join our community. I also want to remind you that we recap NWA POWERRR every Thursday at 8 p.m. in the live stream. We try to stay social, so find us at the Alliance blog. And until next time,